Hello everyone and welcome to the Unanswered Questions True Crime Podcast.
I have spent hours and hours investigating this.
He basically told her that people have been killed. Journalists, independent investigators, people like that disappeared. It frightened her to the bone.
There's more to the story than meets the eye.
There were rumors of torture and homicide and sexual abuse, all sorts of egregious, horrendous crimes.
He was polygraphed 3 times. Each of those 3 showed evasions.
His resumes were a skeleton of truth.
He was mad at the world, and particularly mad at the government.
The study that he commissioned had described a fictional terrorist attack.
If people have died over this, it means you're getting close to the truth.
You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to say, what the fuck?
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of my new podcast, Unanswered Questions, where every week we'll endeavour to discuss a mysterious unsolved case that has many lingering unanswered questions. So I hope you enjoy, and as always, leave me some feedback on what you think about the show and rate it as well. Now on to the show. This week we'll be talking about the Tynong North and Frankston murders. The Tynong North and Frankston murders, alternatively the Frankston and Tynong North serial killer, refers to the deaths of 6 girls and women who, in the period between May 1980 and October of 1981, were taken, murdered and dumped in remote scrub in the Tynong North and Frankston area southeast of Melbourne, Australia. Later, the suburb of Frankston came to national attention again as a result of the Frankston serial killings in mid-1993. In 2017, increased rewards were offered for each of the cold cases. To start off with, we'll cover the Frankston murders. The first known victim, Alison Rook, was a 60-year-old widow who lived in a red brick flat on Hannah Street, Frankston North. On Friday, the 30th of May 1980, Alison was experiencing car trouble, so she ditched the car and decided to catch a bus along the Frankston-Dandenong Road instead. Alison had to go grocery shopping and visit the real estate agent to pay a bill. About 11 a.m, she was seen by neighbours leaving her flat, walking towards the bus stop on Frankston-Dandenong Road. Alison never placed her grocery order and didn't make it to the real estate agent. The bus driver working the route that day couldn't recall picking Alison up. On Saturday, the 5th of July 1980, 5 weeks later, a man walking his dogs found Alison's body partially hidden by scrubland on McClellan Drive in Frankston, and a $50,000 reward was soon posted by police. The second victim was Joy Summers. She was a 55-year-old widow who lived only 1 kilometre away from Alison Rook's flat, although they didn't know each other. Joy lived in Norfolk Crescent, Frankston North. Every Friday she went shopping with her friend William Cotter, but on Friday the 9th of October 1981, William had a few medical appointments booked, so he couldn't go. Joy didn't like shopping alone, but she decided to catch a bus from Frankston-Dandenong Road into Frankston to buy some meat on her own anyway. She was seen by neighbours outside her home at 1 p.m. heading to the bus stop, which was only 100 metres away at the intersection of Chilly Street and Frankston-Dandenong Road. Joy was last seen at the bus stop at 1:20 p.m. The bus driver couldn't recall picking her up, and she never placed her order at the butcher's. 6 weeks later, on Sunday the 22nd of November 1981 at about 11 a.m, a man collecting firewood found Joy's naked body hidden in thick scrub and bushland near the intersection of Sky Road and McClellan Drive, Frankston North, only about 3 kilometres away from where Alison Rook's body was located. Like Alison's body, Joy was covered, but not buried. Now we come to the Tynong North murders. The skeletal remains of Bertha Miller, 73, Catherine Headland, 14, and Anne-Marie Sargent, 18, were found on the 6th of December 1980 in a sand quarry by men dumping lamb offal on a secluded bush track leading from Brew Road, Tynong North. Miller was fully clothed, but the younger victims were both naked. Bertha Miller was 75 years old and living with her brother-in-law William Ross on Carindia Street, Glen Iris. At 10:15 a.m. on Sunday the 10th of August 1980, Bertha called out to her brother-in-law William, who was in the shower. She told him she was off to church, she would be home late, and not to wait for her to have lunch. In order to get to the church, Bertha caught the tram from High Street, Glen Iris. Her good friend Jessie Moore lived nearby in Burke Road. For the previous 10 years, Bertha and Jessie caught the same tram to church every Sunday, the 10:47 a.m. along High Street. Bertha boarded at the terminus and Jessie joined her shortly after at the Burke Road stop. When Jessie got on the tram that day, Bertha was nowhere to be found. Bertha was last seen by a shopkeeper making the 400-metre walk to the tram stop. Her body was found together with the body of Anne-Marie Sargent on Saturday 6th of December 1980 by a local garage owner and his friend 2 kilometres north of the Princess Highway at Tynong North along Brew Road. Catherine's body was found 15 metres away on the next day. Catherine Headland was 14 years old. She'd moved to Australia from England with her family in 1966 when she was just 1. She lived with her mother and older brother in Allen Street, Berwick. Catherine worked part-time on weekends at the Coles supermarket in the local Fountain Gate shopping centre. Thursday the 28th of August 1980 during the school holidays was to be Catherine's first midweek shift. She didn't start work until 12 midday, but she left home at 9:30am to visit her boyfriend John McManus. John lived on High Street, Berwick, about a 1-mile walk. John had a number of other friends visiting and they watched TV and listened to records. At 11:10am, Catherine left John's house and walked to the bus stop at the corner of Manuka Road and High Street, where she planned to catch the 11:20am bus to work. Catherine never made it, and she was never seen again. Until her body was found on Sunday, 7th of December 1980, in the same area as bodies of Bertha Miller and Anne-Marie Sargent, 2 kilometres north of the Princess Highway at Tynong North along Brew Road. Anne-Marie Sargent was 18 years old. She lived with family friends on Rollway Road in the outer southeastern suburb of Melbourne called Cranbourne. Anne-Marie was unemployed and struggling to find a career. On the 6th of October 1980, Anne-Marie visited her mother on Cranbourne Drive. When she left, she said she was headed to the nearby suburb of Dandenong to the Commonwealth Employment Service Office, or CES, to collect an unemployment check. She told her mother that she'd be returning later in the day to collect some clothing. Anne-Marie made it to the CES. She lodged a form there, but after she left the office, she wasn't seen again. Until her body was found together with the body of Bertha Miller on Saturday the 6th of December 1980 by a local garage owner and his friend 2 kilometres off the Princess Highway and Tynong North along Brew Road. Catherine's body was found 15 metres away on the next day. On Thursday, the 3rd of February 1983, more human remains were found in Tynong North scrubland by a man who had stopped to repair a tyre, and a search of the area revealed concealed bones from a badly decomposed and stripped body. The bones were of Naramal Stephenson, who was 34 years old. She was born in Thailand. She married Victorian dairy farmer Wayne Stephenson in Thailand in 1978 before moving to Australia in August 1979. Wayne and Naramal lived on a farm in Deans Marsh, 134 kilometres southwest of Melbourne. On the 28th of November 1980, they visited Melbourne with another couple to see a concert. The next day, on the 29th of November, they all visited another friend in Park Street, Brunswick, around 18 kilometres away in the inner north of Melbourne. When they got there, Naramal was upset and refused to get out of the car and go up into the flat. Wayne Stephenson and the other couple went into the flat where they drank wine and coffee. Wayne came down at least 3 times to check on Naramal. The second time he found her walking down the street. The third time he found her talking to a Thai man in a car. The man had a European accent. After his third check, Wayne sat with his wife in their car until it was nearly dawn. Then he walked upstairs and fell asleep. Naramal remained in the car, still refusing to enter the flat. Shortly after 6 a.m, Wayne Stephenson walked back downstairs to see his wife, but she wasn't there. The car was still there, but Naramal was missing. Her body was found on Thursday, the 3rd of February 1983, by a teacher and former AFL footballer Barry Davis near the bush track along the Princess Highway in Tynong North. Now we come to the investigation of this case. Initially, the two investigations were treated separately, although the cases were later linked based on case and MO similarities, modus operandi. Similarities were also drawn to the recent Truro murders in South Australia. According to police at the time, all of the victims were on foot, with most of them planning to use public transport at the time they disappeared. A few may have tried to hitchhike. Given the lack of eyewitnesses to anything suspicious, authorities assumed that the victims probably knew or trusted their abductor. Causes of death could not be identified, and most bodies were stripped of possessions. Around 2,000 interviews were held regarding the case, and later investigators speculated the possibility of 2 or 3 separate offenders. The prime suspect in the case, Harold Janman, who often offered woman lifts on the Frankston Dandenong Road, continued to maintain his innocence. Janman died aged 88 in August of 2020. No one has been charged regarding the murders, which remain unsolved. In October 2017, the police announced 6 separate $1 million rewards, up from the original $50,000, for any information that resulted in an arrest in any of the cases. Now we're going to get into a bit of a timeline. So we've got 30th of May 1980. 60-year-old Alison Rook was last seen around 11 a.m. by her neighbours walking towards the bus stop on Frankston Dandenong Road. 5th of July 1980, Alison's body was found by a man walking his dogs on McClellan Drive. Alison was found naked, her body decomposed. 10th of August 1980, 75-year-old Bertha Miller left her house at 10:15 a.m. to go to church. She headed towards the tram stop on High Street and was last seen by a shopkeeper making the 400-metre walk to the shop. 28th of August 1980, at 11:10 a.m, 14-year-old Catherine Headland left her boyfriend's house on High Street, Berwick, and walked to the bus stop at the corner of Manuka Road and High Street, where she planned to catch the 11:20 a.m. bus to work. She was never seen again. 6th of October 1980, 18-year-old Anne-Marie Sargent was last seen at the Commonwealth Employment Service office in Dandenong, where she went to collect an unemployment cheque. 29th of November 1980, 34-year-old Naramel Stephenson was last seen by her husband Wayne in the car parked near their friend's house on Park Street, Brunswick. 6th of December 1980, bodies of Bertha Miller and Anne-Marie Sargent were found hidden in dense low scrub along Brew Road, 2 kilometres north off the Princess Highway at Tynong North by 2 local men. 7th of December 1980. The next day at 10 a.m, police found the body of Catherine Headland located 15 metres away from the bodies of Bertha Miller and Anne-Marie Sargent. 9th of October 1981, 55-year-old Joy Caramel Summers was seen by her neighbours around 1 p.m. outside her house, heading to the bus stop located at the intersection of Chilly Street and Frankston Dandenong Road. She was last seen at the bus stop at 1:20 p.m. 22nd of November 1981, Joy's body was found in Bushland near the intersection of Sky Road and McClellan Drive, Frankston North, around 11 a.m. by a man collecting firewood. 3rd of February 1983, Naramel's body was found near the bush track around 50 metres from the road on the Princess Highway in Tynong North, just off the Brew Road, by a teacher and former AFL footballer Barry Davis. Unfortunately, to this day, all these murders remain unsolved, and we may never know who the real murderer was. With that, this case remains open, but with many unanswered questions that still remain unanswered. Please rate the show and let me know what you guys think about this and the many other cases I've covered. You can follow me on all major social media platforms, YouTube, BitChute, Dailymotion. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram, links are all down below in the description. If you have a case you'd like me to have a look at or cover, don't hesitate to send me a message. I'm your host, and this has been the Unanswered Questions Podcast. Until next time. Next on Unanswered Questions. Cicada 3301 is a nickname given to 3 sets of puzzles posted under the name 3301 online between 2012 and 2014.